You won't see the moment you lose. No explosion, no invasion, no clear defeat. Just a slow shift, where decisions stop being yours, and by the time you notice, the outcome is already locked in. Because the most effective wars today aren't fought on battlefields. They're decided long before the first shot is fired. And in the Iran conflict, that's exactly what you're watching. Not just strikes, not just retaliation, but positioning, control, influence. Because winning without fighting is no longer theory, it's strategy. And it's already being used, right now. You've been trained to think war is about force. Who has more weapons, more power, more destruction. But force is expensive, unpredictable, hard to control. So modern strategy evolved. Why fight directly when you can shape the outcome first? Sanctions tighten, access gets restricted, economic pressure builds. Not fast enough to cause panic, but steady enough to create strain. That's where it begins, not with chaos, with limitation. Because when options shrink, control increases. And Iran has been under that pressure for years. Financial isolation, restricted trade, limited access to global systems. Before a single missile was launched, the system was already being shaped. That's the first move. Weaken the environment. Then comes the second, control perception. Information flows. Narratives compete. What people believe starts to shift. Because belief influences behavior, and behavior determines outcome. If people feel instability, they react. If allies feel uncertainty, they hesitate. If markets sense risk, they adjust. And all of that happens without a single shot. That's the part no one sees. Because it doesn't look like war. It looks like news, policy, economics. But underneath, it's influence. Strategic, intentional, relentless. Then comes the third layer, system pressure. Energy routes threatened, oil flow disrupted, shipping lanes become leverage. And suddenly, this isn't just about Iran, it's global. Prices shift, markets react. Entire economies feel the tension. Because modern warfare doesn't stay contained, it spreads through systems. Financial systems, energy systems, information systems. And if you can influence those, you influence everything connected to them. That's the real battlefield. Not land, but leverage. And both sides are playing it. The US and its allies apply economic and financial pressure, control access, limit movement, shape global response. Iran responds through disruption, threatening key routes, using asymmetric tactics, applying pressure where systems are most sensitive. Different approaches, same objective, control the outcome before direct confrontation decides it. Because direct confrontation is the last resort, not the first move. And that's what most people misunderstand. They think the war begins with impact. But by then, the real moves have already been made. The system has already shifted. The advantage has already been created. So when missiles launch, you're not watching the beginning. You're watching the continuation of a game that started much earlier and will continue long after. That's why winning without fighting is so powerful. Because it doesn't look like winning. There's no clear moment, no celebration, no obvious victory, just a gradual realization that one side has fewer options, less leverage, less control. And once you reach that point, the fight becomes predictable. Because you're no longer deciding, you're reacting. And reactive systems don't win. They adapt, they survive, but they don't control the outcome. And control is everything. That's why this strategy scales. It doesn't rely on one moment. It builds over time, layer by layer, pressure by pressure, until resistance becomes unsustainable. But here's where it gets deeper. This isn't just about governments. It's about systems. And you exist inside those systems. Your money, your information, your daily decisions. All influenced by forces you don't always see. When energy prices rise, you adjust. When markets shift, you react. When information changes, your perception follows. And suddenly, you're part of the system being influenced, without realizing it. That's how powerful this kind of warfare is. It doesn't just target nations, It moves through populations, through behavior, through perception, quietly, effectively, and most people never question it, because it feels normal, expected, even when it's not. That's the illusion. Because when something becomes normal, it stops being examined, and unexamined systems are the easiest to control. So while you're watching the visible war, the strikes, the retaliation, the headlines, ask yourself, what's happening underneath? What pressures are being applied? What systems are shifting? What decisions are being shaped before they're even made? Because that's where the real outcome is decided. Not in the moment of conflict, but in the layers before it. And once you understand that, everything changes. You stop looking for obvious signs. You start noticing patterns, pressure points, subtle shifts in behavior. Because that's how modern power operates. Not through domination, but through influence. Not through force, but through positioning. And the side that positions best doesn't need to fight as hard, because the system is already moving in their favor. That's the real victory, and it's happening right now, quietly, strategically, without most people even realizing it. So the next time you hear about war, don't just ask who is attacking. Ask, who is shaping the system? Because the one shaping the system is the one shaping the outcome. And by the time the fight becomes visible, the result may already be decided. If this changed your perspective, subscribe, because the next video might change your life.